Hi, everybody, and welcome to CONSERVATISH, episode 213. My name is Peter Edgar Feliciano. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Make sure you share this, rate it, review it, leave a comment, an angry, hate-filled comment, or a spiritual, loving comment, bigging up our energy. And you can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano or my backup at CONSERVATISH. And you can find me on TikTok at Peter_Feliciano. And you can support my music and my podcast at patreon.com/conservatish. Ladies and gentlemen, Michele Boloña.
Yay!
I'm only half clapping because I have this. I got my surgery, everybody. Yay! So I didn't die, and God showed up. I'll be in this thing for another week, and then I'll be able to start working on my arm and see. I believe my first orthopedic surgeon was incorrect. I think I can get my muscles back, and I will be able to play guitar again.
They're
So,
always wrong.
oh yeah.
Sorry for the doctors out there.
So, no, what'd you say?
I said sorry for the doctors out there, but they're always wrong.
They really are. Please, Michele, promote yourself.
Okay, where to even begin? Do you want me to talk about what I do or like how I got to where I got?
First, where they can find you, and then what you do.
So you can find me on Instagram at Michele Boloña, and that's Michelle with one L, Bolona, like the lunch meat without the G. I like to always say that. And then I also have an Instagram for my podcast called Deeply Rooted Magic. So you could also find me there.
Awesome. Okay, so you're a podcaster. We've talked a little bit about, and I've seen a lot about energies and healings and things like that. I just want to first thing start out, because I don't know if have you heard any of my show yet?
Yeah, you sent me some of the episodes that were
okay.
more like the women that you spoke to. And
Right. Well, one of the things I love to talk about is myself, but also, but one of the things I like about my show is that I'm not tied to any single topic. You know what I mean? I don't like being tied to any single topic. I like branching it out. I like being, and I don't think we talk enough about, I think I'm the only one in the non-liberal side who talks about eating ass. That's number one. And then I think I'm the only non-liberal who also, on the side of conservatish, who also talks about spirit and also talks about energy and also talks about healing and also talks about God and spirit and all that type of shit. Because too many of us, I think, are just very stuffy and Ben Shapiro-ish and you shouldn't, so I like, I was, really heartened by your stuff, and also by a lot of different people's, especially in the I want to say non-liberal, but really it's just so many hippies, many free thinkers, so many hippies have been like, well, I mean, I may have voted for Biden, but this whole like forcing people to take a vaccine thing is a little sketch. That's a little creeps. That's a little authoritarian. That's not bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate it when someone is consistent with their beliefs. Not that we all have to believe the same things, but when someone is spiritual and is into sovereignty and independence and clean, body, clean mind, but what, and then lives by it, even though, it doesn't necessarily, vote in with some of the people who follow them,
Yeah. Funny enough, actually, though, I've always been Republican. And then when I woke up and I became more like, I don't even know if I want to put a name on it, because at this point it's just, fighting for our freedoms and our survival as a country.
Right.
Patriot Party, whatever
you want to call it. There you go.
Yeah, because I realized there's rhinos on the right too, so it woke me up on the other side of things.
Right. Now, you grew up in what, Tennessee?
No, I'm a Jersey girl. I've always been on the East Coast.
Jersey girl.
Yeah, okay. I was in Jersey for all my upbringing, and then I moved to New York when I was 20, and I left New York when I was 32. Yeah, 32.
Okay, so 10 years ago. I'm just kidding. Now, was part of the getting out of New York the New Yorkness of it and what it's become, or was it something bigger? Was it something more personal?
It was initially because my sister, so she was living in LA and she got out of a really bad breakup, and then I went there to make sure, and this was during like right, like May 2020. I went there to make sure that she stuck with her guns, moved out of his place.
Right.
And then I ended up staying because I was like, why would I go back to a small apartment? Like my roommate hated me at the time because I didn't take COVID that seriously because I had COVID March 2020. So for one, I knew I had antibodies. And for two, I wasn't wiping down my groceries. So he was getting very upset with me. And if I would go for walks, he'd pick fights with me. So I was like, I don't want to go back to that. Why would I? I want some green grass, some nature, some beach. And so then I decided to stay in LA, but then things were really tightening up there, and they even closed the beaches. And my sister and I were like, let's just try 2 months in Nashville, 2 months in Austin, and see which one we like better. But we didn't end up leaving Nashville because we loved it so much.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. What did you like about Nashville?
Oh, well, the freedom, because they haven't had a single mask mandate or anything like open businesses. They've had that all since May of, I think they got rid of it May 2021, because initially they were a little bit more locked up, but still not as much as the rest of the US.
Right.
But yeah, I love that. But then I also love that they have great restaurants. They have so much nature, which I didn't expect. And this also I didn't expect. It was Nashville participated in my healing journey. It was the biggest way to get me on my journey because it was highly spiritual. It's called Music for a reason because all these musicians, they come here. And there's so many sound healers here. Like they have a church here where they perform sound baths first Wednesday of every month.
All right.
Not. It's highly spiritual. There's always a drum circle, a sound bath, a cacao ceremony. I had no idea it was like that until I got here.
Okay. Now, see, here's the thing. As spiritual and whatever as I am, part of my experience was that I grew up, a little bit in New York, and I'm there now. But I moved to the Bay Area when I was about 9 years old. Most of my life has been in California. And as you experienced in Los Angeles, it's fake hippie. It's not real hippie. They may have been the spearheads. They may have been the spearheads in the 60s and 70s. That left as soon as they got a little cash, and Los Angeles wanted to get up in there.
Yeah.
And Hollywood ruined it and tech ruined it and whatever. And so that was my experience in Los Angeles or in the Bay. When I would hear things like drum circles, that immediately makes me, I can't, because there's so much falsehood. Yeah. And one of my good friends who's been on the show before, Dave Walsh, who's also a healer and a shaman and like just a deep motherfucker, like a deep motherfucker. We've had long conversations both on my show and off about how hippies, or as far as Bay Area, there's a tendency to think if I just buy some oat milk and some sage and and make sure that my stuff isn't tested on rabbits, then that means, that I'm doing and he's like, no, real ass, like energy, that's deep. It gets dark. It gets weird. It gets hard. Doing the work is what makes this. So where along your journey, I guess you grew up in Jersey. So you're a dirty Republican in Jersey, but where along the line did you start to open up to this other side of things? To the healing side of things?
It wasn't until December 2019. That's when it was right before COVID, December 2019, when I started realizing, it came from just a multitude of partners, romantic partners that just all, I always say same, what do I always say?
I don't know what you always say. We have to listen to Deep Rooted Magic in order to find that out. Continue.
Yeah, exactly. Same person, different face. They all just came into my life with the same exact energy and offering the same thing. Someone deeply narcissistic and selfish and couldn't really give much of their time to me. And I was just like very guarded. And I was like, okay, there's no way that every single man in this earth is like that. Maybe it's something that I'm attracting by something I'm putting out there. And that was the beginning of my journey of self-awareness. Just to be like, let me try that. And that was how the podcast was born, because it was about kind of debunking spirituality in a way, but also seeing if it works. It was like, well, let me record my journey from the beginning to see if I work with all these different healers, and I work on healing my energy and healing just my overall aura. And if it works, you have a live recorded journey of what that looks like for a healing journey. And obviously everyone's is going to look different. Who you work with, you might be called to different people, but this is just what worked for me. And I mean, sure enough, it worked.
Right. Yeah. I liked one of the things about Dave is that like, I could be as skeptical as I wanted to be. I didn't have to drink the Kool-Aid right away. And anybody, and the same thing goes with any, high politicians in New York. I didn't want anybody who like tells me what to do or what to think. Like I've always been that way. Fuck you. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to do the opposite,
Yeah.
Maybe not the opposite, but I'm going to, and so when I was dipping my toes in this stuff, and I've been sober since I was 15 years old, like I've been on a spiritual path since that time, but it was much more, action based. It was much more writing based. It was much more altruism based. And it was much more, for a long time, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, my experience was that it was much more masculine energy of it. And I don't mean masculine like that's bad, because Lord motherfucking knows. But about 2017, I realized I was too rigid to this idea of, no, there's one type of spirituality, is all altruism, fuck self-care is selfishness, blah blah blah. I was boom on that, and it got me to the point where I couldn't, I was stagnant for a while, and I was self-punishing for a hot minute. For I think my first loves were fear and shame, you know what I mean,
and everyone else.
Yeah. And so I had to I think my spiritual path, my life essentially was saved by very maternal, almost like feminine, very like, just, it doesn't matter what you do, I'm going to love you ruthlessly, especially old women. Like old women saved my fucking life by just, liking me and loving me and wanting me to be around and talk to and blah, blah, blah. Why did I go off on that tangent? Because I could be skeptical. I could be, dip my toe in and see what works for me and see what didn't, because there's been many things that didn't,
Yeah.
When you started the journey, was it always called Deep Rooted Magic?
No, funny you should ask. It was called The Art of Wealth, WELLTH. It was wellness and health combined. But then somewhere along the way, and it was beautiful, that some guy, so I was leaving New York. I was driving. At first I drove because my boss made me come back to New York. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm done with Nashville. So I drove from New York to Nashville. I drove from New York to Nashville only because I knew I was going to be back. I was like, I'm just going to go there for a month. And then I'm gonna tell my boss that I don't want to stay here anymore. And it was right when the mandates hit, so it was perfect because they knew I'm not vaccinated. So I had said, like, yeah, sorry, I'm not staying here. I want to go to Nashville. So on my way to Nashville, I got an email from this guy threatening to sue me for my name of my podcast. So I was like, the timing couldn't be more divinely aligned. The fact that I'm completely uprooting my life, jeopardizing my job, and then my podcast name is changing because it's a whole new journey for me. It's now like transformed to something completely different. And it's more about helping others uncover the magic within them by kind of showing them different modalities, not necessarily my journey, but just talking to anyone and everyone in different healing woo-woo things. But I wanted to make it, I wanted to show them all the weird things, like the Akashic records and all the different intangible things that some people can't understand. So it completely transformed with the name.
Right. I heard you say that on one of your shows. Rejection is, what was it? Rejection is like a redirection or something like that?
Every rejection is redirection.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, I'm going through it right now. But I always know it's making way. Like every time that you're going through something, some big, deep breakdown or some big moment that is, it could send anyone into a tailspin. It means that the universe is making way for something greater for you and opening up the space for the actual thing that's meant to be in your life to come.
Right.
I believe in it.
Yeah, I believe that too. But I also think it's good to be, when I found out, a few months ago that, to share some of my journey, when I found out a few months ago that I had nerve compression in my elbow and I might not get the muscles in my hand back, I was fucking angry. And it was okay for me to be angry. It was okay for me to be a little suicidal. just for a couple of hours, not like strong. It was just like, quick gun, nothing, I didn't want any pain. Just, I'm done playing God. I'm good. And it was okay for me to hold space in order for me to express that and feel that. And I feel like, again, just pointing out, because again, sometimes the woo-woo stuff makes it feel like we're just supposed to be positive all the time. Just positive energies, guys, positive vibes. Fuck you. That's not realistic. And that's not nice. That's not nice to ourselves, to whether you want to call it our inner child or whatever. Like I needed a tantrum for a second, and that was okay.
I think any emotional release is healthy. Anger, especially, because anger means that you have something bubbling on the surface that wants to come out. I encourage anger on sessions with my clients. I'm like, oh, where's this anger coming from? Keep going with it. I like this.
Yeah.
If you're not expressing any emotion, then what are we doing here?
Right. Do you ever, yeah, because I guess maybe some people fear like, if I express anger, if I open the jack, the jack in the box, am I going to be able to put it back in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where along the line did you feel like, okay, I'm now wanting to express this out or provide space or help clients with this?
So I worked on deep healing for a year. I'm a go big or go home kind of girl. Like literally my journey only started last January. And so, or 2 Decembers ago rather. Anyway, so it's basically been a little bit over a year. Anyway, the first person I found on part of my journey is my shaman. And I decided in August that I wanted to sign up for a course to start training or healing people because I felt called to heal people. I felt like it was part of my medicine that I can offer people because of my childhood and what I went through. You always offer that as medicine to other people. And so, and it was a lot of inner child stuff, obviously, and relationship stuff. And so I decided that I wanted to start working with my shaman because she was offering a container to train other shamans. So I've been working with her since August and training under her. And then it was a lot of working on limiting beliefs also. Like I worked also with a human design coach. I don't know if you're familiar with human design.
I heard you talk a little bit about it in one of your episodes.
So I'll briefly touch on it, where human design is basically, it takes your natal chart and it tells you basically how you make decisions in life and what you're meant to do to make money and to kind of help, like, be part of the collective. And funny enough, and I've been told this all my life, that I'm supposed to make money using my voice, and that's part of my natal chart, my human design. And so clearly, if I'm coaching people, I'm making money using my voice. But I'm also supposed to, like, I'm an investigator, and I'm supposed to also heal people. It's all part of it. So it was just the path I knew I had to be on, and clearly it was the path that was, destined in the stars. And that was kind of when I decided. But yeah, so I worked with my human design coach and my shaman to get rid of my limiting beliefs, or at least be able to recognize what they were. And a lot of them were that it can't be this easy to make money. Like, you have to, be in a salaried job because time equals money. And that's how you get your reward, by putting in the time. And so I had to work a lot around that, and also realizing that I know what I'm talking about because I participated in my own healing journey. So I know what that looks like, and I would be able to walk anyone else through that. And so I ended up getting my first client 3 days after I launched my program. And that's how I knew that I was on the right path, because normally people have a lot harder of a time even being able to get their first client. And then I never advertise my services again. Like, I'm not someone that pushes it a lot, but people come to me all the time asking to work with me. So I've just been organically getting clients, and most of them have been about relationships and why they're attracting the same type of person. So it's it's the medicine I can offer people because I have experienced it throughout my entire life.
Right.
Long story short.
No. I mean, you're on my show. You're supposed to go off on a rant. If I go off on one, just, hang on.
This is about me.
Right. But the thing is, like, because I had that realization a little while ago too about my relationships. I've kept getting, for the last 5 years, all of my relationships have been mostly either longish distance, or like when I was in that tail end of my 20s and early 30s, I was just Mr. Non-monogamy because, I didn't realize I just didn't want to commit. No offense to all the poly people. We'll see you when you're 35. But, a couple years ago, I realized like, I don't think this is actually what I actually believe. Like, I think, I would have relationships that were all right. We would communicate and build, and it was definitely good for me learning about myself and learning about jealousy and learning about, kind of my coldness and leaving, putting women at arm's length. But one of the things I would realize is over and over since then, maybe 2016 was that last like non-monogamous relationship. I've had a bunch of relationships that weren't labeled, but we're still loving and still very open and still very whatever and still very, filthy and whatever. But it was in the back of my head, I was like, but what was, I'm not really solid in my this, or I'm not really solid in my that, or I'm going to be moving to New York soon, and I even got in a relationship and we only broke up maybe 7-8 months ago or whatever. But like, I'm going to be moving to New York soon, so I can't. And then I was, I just moved to New York, so I didn't realize, I needed to move again. There was always a fucking excuse. And that's like, I realized a couple months ago, I was like, oh, fuck, I think I have the time and energy. It was like, oh no, like,
now.
What is this thing in me that's like, I don't want to let a bitch near me. There's something about like, but not, it was weird because that's the thing is that it served me to love them and to be there for them and communicate and blah, blah, blah. I had to start a show just so I could fucking, get it out. I'm not one of those dudes who, I love football, but it's not just football and silence for me. But it's like, okay, allowing that more of a two-way street thing was, I realized I was subconsciously avoiding it. I want to know though, where did you scratch the itch before you became what you are now, or what you're trying to start to become, or whatever you want to call it? Where did you scratch the itch of serving others, using your voice?
You know what? I think it had to do with the more people saw my auric field kind of expand more, like my vibration. I know
Auric.
I know. People hate this terminology, but like, the more I raise my frequency,
right.
You always serve as a mirror for someone else, or just, people are going to be opposed to your frequency because it exposes things in themselves. But more people were coming to me to like for advice. And I was just like, I should just get paid to do this, because I give great advice. And I get to the deep root causes of it. And that's the important part. If you can't see the deep root, you're going to keep repeating the cycle. So it was a matter of helping friends. Obviously, I don't charge my friends. It was a matter of helping friends and realizing that there's merit to what I have to say. Like my voice is important, and my knowledge and capacity to hold space for people, that matters too. And like you had said, like feeling, you healed through a lot of women, like because you felt love through different women in your life and, grandmothers, etc. That's one of my superpowers, is just the ability to give my heart to people. That's like, it's deep healing in sessions because I do, I can actually tap into my heart chakra and send that to people. And a lot of men have been aligned to work with me, funny enough. Most of my clients at this point are men. Because I think that they need a healing feminine energy right now. And that is actually the collective. The women are supposed to wake up first and really work on their healing so that they can provide and hold the space for men when they go on their healing journeys. That is how it always has been. And then once the men have kind of healed what they need to heal, then the men start leading. And I cannot wait for that time. I'm so excited.
Yeah. All right. First things first, before I go off on a rant about submissives. Hi, girls. You can email at conservativepodcast@gmail.com. The thing that I found, though, where along the line do you feel you've seen that when you've looked at that pattern that women wake up first?
If you think about it, most of the strong voices out there are women, right? Most of the women are the ones that are speaking up and getting louder and standing up first.
Right now? Hmm. That might be true. I'm not saying it isn't, but that might be true from your perspective because you are a woman. You follow more women,
I
possibly.
actually listen to more male podcasts.
Okay.
I do.
So part of my way through to the other side of non-liberalism was a dude. Eventually, after a couple of what's that word I'm looking for? Gateway drugs of Milo Yiannopoulos and a couple of. Then I got to Camille Paglia. I got to Christina Hoff Sommers, although she's talked some dumb shit about vaccines recently. But there has been some. But maybe I've been more toward masculinity because
mostly men look for masculines because it's like an expander for them, you know?
Right. But I guess my, although I'm not saying that it isn't true, when as far as my perspective, I need dudes to wake up first, and my job is to make motherfuckers wake up. And it looked like different things over the course of my life. It looked like, one time I was friends with this guy at school or at work, and he was like 24, 25, and he was still a virgin. And I was just like, come on, man, let's I just like, let me get you laid. Like it just, there's something in me that needed to, but if I had heard it, okay, I needed to be held space a few years ago I needed females to hold space for me. But as far as dudes I don't know, I feel like it's men's job to lead that.
It is after, like, because so many men, think about society today, right? The culture in society is, I'm not saying toxic masculinity, like, I'm not into that whole concept, but like, there are a lot of men who are deeply unhealed and they're still in their little fuckboy phase of running around, like screwing around with women, like really living in 3D life and not waking up, right? But then there's these women, and I know way more women, like ratio of women to men that are actually seeking out healers and trying to work on themselves. So women are going through this journey now, and then women, their whole frequency is gonna, as a collective, rise. The men are gonna have no choice but to follow suit, and that's when the sleeping lions become loud roaring lions because the women are holding that space for them. That's
possibly, but I think in some ways it cheapens the strength and the authenticity of men and masculinity in general when it doesn't come from other masculinity. Here's an example.
All right, go on.
More women in the US are vaccinated by like 10% than men.
Annoying.
and the reason why dudes tuck their dicks is because they've been trying to get laid. It's all based on that. It's all, I'm going to shut down my animal. I'm going to shut down my authenticity. I'm going to shut down my masculinity, sometimes over the course of decades, sometimes over the course of years, sometimes collectively over the course of decades, so that I can get what I think I want, which is to get off.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, I'm not saying you're not, I like piecing this apart with you. This is interesting. But I think that there's a tendency then for a lot of the dudes, a lot of the Bay Area fake hippie dudes who are like, oh yeah, I like energies too. Can we fuck now? It's going to be the same carrot on the end of the stick, which is again coming from the incorrect space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be girls saying, okay, come to this healing area, when really it's just going to be a lot of male feminists. You know what I mean?
You think, so what you're saying is like, if men are working with other women, it's going to turn them more feminist?
No.
Or you're saying that they're faking their want of healing so that they can just get laid.
And they don't even know it.
But they don't even know it.
I'm not saying your clients. I'm not saying your clients.
I know. That's my point, right? Because men aren't awake. They're just doing it to get laid. And when you have that as your mindset, like that, you're still very much in your damaged phase. If you're seeking validation and you're seeking, I would say seeking validation in how many women you can, nail, for lack of a better term, that's someone that's a deeply traumatized person. More men wake up when they realize that their healing does happen through a safe container with another woman, and that they feel that, they feel like they could be vulnerable. I think there's so much strength in vulnerability and being able to release your emotions to somebody and allow that space to nurture you. And like, think about how protected and supported you feel in that home environment, and you can unleash what you need to on the world,
I agree. But I think that same, I don't know. I just, when it comes to the grand scheme of the collective, I do think that it's the main job of, like, our main job of as masculine people is to wake up other masculine people. I've seen it on a meme, like, our job is not to wake up the sheep, is to wake up the lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I think there's a bit of hubris in the collective thing, and not ill-intentioned. They're frustrated too. Women, the collective, are frustrated as fuck, and they've been that way. And I listen, and I never took advantage of it in a negative way, like in a selfish way. But I used to, and I still, whatever. But there's been many women over the course of my life. I often dated, or hooked up with older women because they would be fresh out of their 10, 15 year, 20 year marriage. And like, I don't respect this motherfucker I'm married to. I hate him every time he talks, and he's so sweet. He's so nice. It bores the shit out of me. And all of a sudden they come across me, who's not like, oh, gee, golly, can we fuck? Like, and all of a sudden they're that refreshing. And so I swept up, but and it wasn't in a bad way, but it helped me realize, like, okay, what do girls need? And not in, I'm not a piece of shit. I don't take advantage in a shitty, selfish way, but I was able to provide what people needed. But that thing, as far as choosing to heal myself, it was an internal thing, and it could not, for me, my personal experience. My soul sought those women that helped me, that the feminine energy that held space for me, regardless. And I think I would have sought that. But for me, I needed to just jettison quite literally the toxic masculine shit that I was a part of. I was a part of the spiritual group that was, was kind of very small sectish thing. Long story. Can't really talk about it too much because, anonymity or whatever. But I was a part of this group, and it was, and there was one way to do this thing, and one way to, help others, and one way to do God, and one way, all this stuff. And I had to jettison that and be without a mentor, or without a grand poobah mentor for 2.5 years. It was what I needed to do. And I found it, I found that space. I found that feminine space. I found those, women who helped me. But I don't know.
You're almost there.
but I'm saying I could not have personally trusted women.
Right.
Because some of y'all are horrible people.
But what made you trust the women that you trusted? The ones that held the space for you and gave you love.
Their actions.
Exactly. So the women that are waking up, it's their actions that are going to have men trust them, because you know how if you walk into a room, you can pick up on someone's energy. You can tell if they're authentic or not.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, energy feels energy. You can tell who people are at their core. And if women are going to be, men are going to trust a woman if he feels her energy and he feels her being soft and tender and sincere.
Yes. Older women. Here's the thing. As soon as sex might be involved, I can't hear it. I just can't hear it. And maybe that's my healing shit that I need to do. But I really don't think so. Because as soon as a woman is in a place of being, okay, unless they're somebody who I designate, okay, this is a boundary, we're never going to fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is never on the table. You're just somebody who helps me and I help or whatever. There, as long as that's set up, whether it be someone who's old or someone I'm paying or whatever, unless that space is there, I'm still in that place of like, okay, you're helping me heal, but like, does my hair look all right? Well, not me. But like, am I wearing the right t-shirt? Am I,
do I look okay? But that's more of a you thing, not a them thing.
Yeah, but it is more of a me thing. But I'm saying collectively, like, I know dudes, and right. I know dudes, and at that space, you know what I'm saying? Like here's why it irks me a teensy bit. What you were saying as far as because it doesn't negate it, but again, where's the power coming from? It's still us.
Right.
It's still us.
But men are waking up slower.
I'm sorry?
I said, but men are waking up slower.
Well, how do you, okay, but the vaccinated thing is
that
a good example.
Throw a little, I agree.
Okay.
Throw a little spice on my
and I would say when the groups of people who are keeping up with the woke Joneses, who the cancel culture people, it's always a feminine energy. It's never masculine energy. Right?
Well, yeah, but the people that are louder, like I totally get that. But the people that are louder are such a small minority of us. You know what I mean? Of the ones that are like the poster children of that cancel culture woke movement. Like it's such a small sample size.
Okay, so it is a small sample size, but it's almost all feminine energy or guys tucking their dicks. So if that's feminine energy, how is that same feminine energy going to help dudes wake up?
Well, those women aren't healed yet. Those are women. I'm saying I'm only talking specifically about the women that are working on their healing, not every single woman, because some people, it's not their journey to wake up. Some people are just meant to be asleep forever. You know, everyone's on their own journey, on their own path, and not everyone's going to go through this. But I'm saying of the women that are on the journey and doing their deep healing, those are the ones that are going to be the ones to hold the space.
Hold the space. Okay. But in that same space, I guess I'm understand what you're saying. And I'm not saying I disagree. I just think there's might be a tendency for maybe some unhealed women who, when you bring a dude up, you don't respect him. And dudes need to be respected, and women need to like that what they, as far as fulfillment. I'm sorry?
I feel like that's like more of the toxic femininity, the femininity that gives femininity a bad name. You know, like the feminist movement that men are toxic and men are this. I think if you come from a place, what I've been learning about myself, I'm going to get a little personal here.
Please do.
If you don't mind.
Not at all.
I just got out of a breakup. And what I've learned, like, I can see my progress and how far I've come because old Michelle would have been unleashed the beast, would have like eviscerated him, you know, like, and probably would have closed myself down to masculines after that. Because it was 4 years of a lot of back and forth and being kind of dragged around kind of thing, right? But new Michelle, all I saw was compassion for him because I saw the trauma that he was I saw the trauma that was driving his actions, right? And I just held the space to show a mirror up to him for what he, like, you know, why he's acting the way he's acting, and, you know, tried to give him the tools and just said, you know, this is what I feel like you should work on. And I didn't do it in a malicious way. I did it as gentle as I could just to show him, you know, give him some guidance that if you want for your next relationship, if you want it to be healthy, this is what you should work on because this is kind of what's holding you back in this scenario. And I did it from a place of my heart and not from like, what I'm trying to say is like, if you're healed or, I mean, you're never fully healed, right? But if you're working on your healing and you're very, you know, you've done a lot of your inner work, you don't get as reactive and as angry. You get more compassionate, you know, because you understand that everyone's just operating on traumas and you can see the trauma very clearly. So that being said, it's only going to be divinely feminine women who are very into their inner work that are going to be participating in this, right? Like no fake, what do they call it? Spiritual bypassing is going to heal or wake up anybody. And that goes for both sides of the spectrum. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess maybe I'm my only, maybe it's my, because I've known, I've seen a couple
New York, right?
I live in New York. Yeah.
You see not so many awake people.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. The people who are not awake in New York are white liberals. The people who are not awake are white liberals across the board, They were so, that little, you know, that little thing, the rubber hammer that the doctor hits your knees with to make sure you're, you know, they hit the white guilt so much on them that like, I'm bad in my soul for fucking years now. And that has made them delusional. And so no matter what Biden does, even if he, I don't know, says you're not black if you don't vote for him, crazy idea. They still think anti-racism is to be a modern day leftist, which is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. And most of the not only most of the unvaccinated in New York are black people, but also most of the people at these rallies are predominantly black, Latino, yeah, and hippies. Not that black can't be hippies, but let's be real. So as far as your what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Do you have any poignant questions for me while I figure out what I was going to say?
Just a comment that you're a glutton for punishment going from the Bay Area to New York.
Listen, as a musician, I had a few options when I was leaving San Francisco. I was going to be,
Nashville. It's called Music City for a reason.
Listen, you're just trying to date me. Nashville's good. Austin was also a possibility.
That makes
sense. But I'm much more of a dirtbag. Like I need a little bit
grit,
or maybe I need a little grit, but also, I spent a long time in San Francisco and I needed a little more city, right? So, and I fucking hate Los Angeles. So I was like, okay, I'll go to New York. But, in being here, it's helped me pivot in a lot of beautiful ways, both internally and externally. Yeah. I've gone to, I'm in, getting my bachelor's in audio production as an example. So I'm going to be a producer as well, rather than just a singer, songwriter, and podcaster and memer and all those things. But at the same time, I have started to look at, take inventory of possibly Austin. I know some people in Nashville. Who do I know in Nashville? Mimi Spire, who's a musician down there. Elisa Sun is a musician down there. A couple cool cats. But as far as leaving New York, I'm not yet. I'm like, let me, because there's still a little dirt I need to, and plus, as far as my role, I feel like part of my role is being the connector, and not the martyr, but the connector between those two worlds. That's part of the name of the show, CONSERVATISH. I like positing. Yeah, I like being at least one, as I said to a friend, a white liberal friend who texted me yesterday. He's like, yeah, man, if anyone thinks Biden is a good president, is losing their mind. I'm like, be careful, because they're going to cancel you when they when they're sending me to the gulag and they dig up this message, like you're going to be in trouble.
I'm surprised he's admitting it though, because most of the ones that I know won't admit it.
Right.
That Biden's the worst thing to happen to us.
And I think he's just, let's go off on this. Let's go off on this a little bit.
Let's be clear, but
he is. I think he's just a tool. Yeah. And I think he's just, when I was making this meme yesterday about like, oh my God, you really are the devil. Like it's not just Biden. It's way bigger than Biden.
The whole deep state, yeah.
Yeah, Biden's too old to come up with a lot of these ideas. He's just being propped up there, and you be the guy to take our bards and be our, catalyst.
Guy, essentially, yeah.
Right. But did you know that? Did you know that in 2020?
Oh yeah, I was always a Trump girl. I voted for him in the first election. Oh yeah, I'm loud and proud.
God damn it. Maybe Nashville is the idea. But that's the thing. Like when I go and I spend time around non-New Yorkers, it is quite refreshing. It is quite fucking refreshing.
And the energy is so much better.
And the energy is better. So you don't run into like weird faux hippies in Nashville very often?
Nashville, no. No, the community here is. I'll say this, like, it's not the most inclusive community, I think, the spirituality people here. Because they have these, like, I got invited at first. So they had these, like, gatherings of, like, medical freedom. They call them the Star Seeds. So I got invited at first to these parties that they would have. But then, yeah, eventually they just kind of stopped. and it wasn't anything I did. It was big, and like who knows? Maybe I've just forgotten about. But I made friends with another girl who'd go to them too, and she said the same thing, that didn't feel very inclusive. So perhaps it's
In
just
what way?
just in the way that they were so tight knit, and so it was like a clique, so that they didn't really like to welcome new people to the community because they've all been together for so long.
Right.
It's kind of what it felt like. And usually the whole thing with spirituality is, the oneness, and like, you have overwhelming love for people, and you want to build the community up and build it bigger. So maybe in a sense, perhaps it is a little bit of fake spirituality, but I'm kind of on the camp where I was just in Costa Rica, and I'm feeling really called to move there. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know, because I just felt the weather there was just obviously amazing, and I'm just craving a deep immersion in nature. Nashville has a lot of nature, but it's not enough for me. I think it's still too much like New York for me in terms of so much city and liveliness that I want. But I needed it as the bridge city to go to an even slower pace of life. It's sort of in that respect.
Right. It's probably also the energy rub off of all the musicians who are trying to make it.
Yeah.
Anytime there is that, it's going to be a little Los Angeles. It's going to be a little New York.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And a lot of people from New York and LA have moved here. So I think you're getting some of that too.
Right. Where there's like a competitiveness and a little bit of glad handshaking and, all that type of stuff. It's just like,
Yeah.
So maybe Costa Rica. That's interesting. What would be your main goal? Not just with Costa Rica, but in general? Is it obviously continue and be in the present moment and doing what you're doing? But
so I do have a main goal. Funny you should ask. I don't know what kind, because I think I'm ever evolving as more information comes in, and I'm kind of sharpening up my tools and learning more skill sets. Things are always going to change. And also part of my human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So you only follow things that spark you, and you can lose interest in the things you used to do because you get so much more excitement over the next big thing. So I think I'm always going to be ever evolving, but I do really want to be a public speaker, like a paid public speaker, but kind of like I always say, I want to be a mix of, if Joe Dispenza and Joe Rogan had a baby, I would be the female version. I want to be someone that helps wake people up, but also really helps them do the deep work to realize their potential and how much magic they have inside of them. But I want to do it on like a mass scale.
Okay. What do you feel like you would lose from that individual? Because there is something that is important on a one-on-one basis. I have a ex who's a massage therapist and also kind of a healer as well. And there's something she doesn't like the spotlight at all. But the work that she does with a one-on-one is something really, powerful and fruitful. Do you feel like you're trading something off when it comes to like, okay, I'm going to give up this, one-on-one type of situation and focus on a group?
They both have trade-offs and they both have positives, I'd say, but obviously it was way more intimate working one-on-one, but I think you can affect more change by doing it on a mass scale.
Right.
Reach way more people, especially like if you can make it, Joe Rogan's pretty mainstream at this point, millions and millions of listeners. So if you can appeal to people because of how mainstream your ideas, you can make your ideas mainstream so that they're tangible, people can understand them. But then when they're actually physically in the space with you, you can flip the switch and make it as spiritual as you want to. They've already paid, they're already there, and you can really dive in with the inner work while they're there.
Right. Spiritual trickery. I like that. Yeah. Bait and switch. Yes.
In the most loving way possible.
Right. I mean, I kind of feel like that's this show. Like they sneak in and then all of a sudden I'm talking about titties and things. So yeah. So you didn't feel when you started to realize like, okay, I'm, did you feel any like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Impostor syndrome.
Well, shit, that's a whole nother topic. Sure. Answer that question first.
Of course. Everyone always feels imposter syndrome. Right. I felt it all the way up until I had my first client. And I was just like,
I feel it right now.
Yeah. I was like, well, shit. Like, if I, like, what's the worst that can happen? I give him his money back if he doesn't like what's happening, but he's witnessing so much magic in his life with every session. Things are opening up for him, and like things are coming into his life that didn't happen before, and things are moving so quickly. And I'm getting a lot of positive reinforcement from him about every single session, like, was better than the last. And it's like, I'm so silly to even think that I can't do this. Like, we're literally our only worst, we're our worst enemies, because we talk to each other or talk to ourselves so tough. Like, we're so mean and harsh on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only our minds that's really getting in the way. The barriers that we put in the way. And what we, like, if you really think about it, it's just silly. It's like words are spells, and you're just casting a spell on yourself for every negative word and every negative thought you say to yourself. That the more you say you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. If you keep giving yourself pep talks, you're going to inspire yourself, and you're going to feel it in your cells. It's like, have you ever seen those, if you talk to water droplets during, and like to the point when they freeze, and you can see how the snowflakes form, and if you've talked positive high vibrations to them, they form these beautiful little snowflakes. And if it's negative, they just don't look as they're not as well formed, they're not thriving.
Right.
And your body is what, 70% water. Right. Think about it. If you talk to those cells, how magic that could be for you.
Right. And I also want to put that out there, everybody. Like, you can be skeptical of that. Like,
totally.
I have had times where I've been so obsessive compulsive that, like, even because I started getting into Louise Hay about a year and a half ago. Love that bitch. Rest in peace. And again, as far as the feminine energy holding space or whatever. But like, listening to her and getting into the positive affirmations and the energies and healing and all that stuff, I also needed to understand that there's no way to do it wrong. That even listening to the motherfucking tape was all, my healing was already happening. You know what I mean? My healing was already happening. 100%. It's impossible to do it wrong. And I needed to know that, because my obsessive compulsive mind was like, okay, I said the thing wrong, or I had a negative thought. That means I'm going to keep thinking negative thoughts and fuck it anyway. What's the point? Be nice, dummy. Be nice to yourself.
Dummy. That in meditation, I used to talk negatively to myself. Like, am I not doing this right? Why can't I have a spiritual experience and like expect to see things, or like have a mystical experience? Right. And I would just be so hard on myself. And the more I would do that, the less of an experience I would get out of it. Like, all you're supposed to do is observe your thoughts from up here. Your mind's here. You're observing from up here as to where those thoughts are coming from, and inside your body, and why they're coming up for you based on your past traumas. Like, what is the source behind that thought? And then right. That's all you need to get out of it, because that's magical alone.
Right. And then when I'm trying to, like, when I think about it in the context, everybody cover your ears. When I think about it in the context of sex, I think about it like this. Like, because it's similar to the thing you were talking about as far as the female opening or whatever. But as soon as like that door is opened, like the fulfilling thing in my animal is just a fucking wreck a motherfucker. It's just a massive, you don't understand. Like, okay, all right, you fuck with the beat. Now it's gonna happen. And opening that, like, knowing that I can trust that, like, and trusting it in myself. Because sometimes, like, as soon as I start to think like, wait, am I doing this right? Am I, whatever. It's almost like in the context of like, guys never like to talk about it. So whatever. But like, sometimes you have the thought like, wait, is my dick going to get soft? And then, like, as soon as you think that, then it starts to get soft, and you're like, fuck, wait. And then you're
like willing it into existence.
Yes. But like, even allowing the space to, like, oh, okay, I can bring God into me with me into sex. I've literally done this once or twice, where like my old mentor was like, just set up a chair for God. So I set up a chair for God in the room. Hey, God, check this shit out.
Well, that's like people pep talk themselves during sex. It's the same thing, right? Like, if a man wants to keep going and he knows he's getting soft, he has to give himself a pep talk. You can do this. You got this. Like, last a little longer. Like, but you're willing yourself to keep going.
But I don't know if it sounds so much like Rudy. Like that was very Rudy of like, come on, guy.
Cheerleader.
Right. Anyway, let's start. You good to go a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, rock and roll. So you don't find anything, what's the word? Inconsistent between MAGA and healing and the spiritual realm of things. Where do you feel like they intertwine, and how soon in the mix did you realize that? Because I know you said you got into the healing stuff a couple of years ago. It's been 2 years. But where along the line was it like, oh, this is totally complementary?
Because I feel like Trump is very much about giving you your power back. And that's all that healing's about, is taking your power back and stop giving it away to other people. Because do you really want to be powerless? If you know that you, like, I'll take a breakup, for instance. If you're placing the blame on that person, like, it was their fault. They did this, this, and this to me.
Right.
Is that really you standing in your power, instead of saying, I realized that he was, that the mirror was that what he was trying to show me was this, this, and this. And then that's something tangible that you can work on within yourself, which gives you your power back. Whereas Trump, he was trying to, I don't know, in a way, he was like trying to open people up and awaken them to show them the corrupt nature of the establishment. And that is giving you your power back, because you're realizing that you have the power to affect change if you can open your eyes and see what's going on, instead of living eyes wide shut.
Right. I completely agree. And the thing is that he was never, like, it was never about him. Like, I know some of the more sycophantic right wing, whatever. It was never really fucking about him. He was a tool, just like anybody in power. It's like, okay,
everything's about him, but like in general, no, the movement wasn't about him. It was about
exactly. I don't think that motherfucker does no spiritual healing. Come on, let's be real. Anybody who's like, I don't have small fingers, fuck you. Like, you're not doing your trauma work. But at the same time, I don't need my dudes. I don't need my fucking leaders.
He was a vessel.
Yeah, he was a vessel. And anybody who needs, if DeSantis needs to be that dude next, I don't give a fuck, because the bottom line is, leave me alone. Give me the opportunity to be more myself. And that's what the American dream has always been. That's what it's supposed to be. That's the ideal. Right. I was, as an example, some dumb, who was it?
Some dumb.
Oh, I think it was Paul F. Tompkins. Do you know?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. You ever watch Mr. Show, the HBO show, the comedy sketch show? You're too young. There was a show, and Paul F. Tompkins is a comedian, comic writer, or whatever, sketch writer from Los Angeles. Surprise, surprise. And he's just, he wrote some article, like, or said some tweet. I was following him a few years ago because Mel Brooks came out and said, like, comedy is supposed to be okay. Like, we joke about everything. He's like, anybody trying to justify racist? And I'm just like, fuck you, white piece of shit. Paul Tompkins, you're a white piece of shit. And so I jettisoned him, and I was listening to Mel Brooks' book. He just came out with an autobiography a couple of months ago. And he talked about getting a Kennedy Honors in 2009 from who? Fucking Obama. Okay. Love him or hate him. The motherfucker was half black. Okay. Very liberal. And yet he was honoring Mel Brooks. And everybody in the, a bunch of artists, black, woman, whatever, gay, whatever, honored Mel Brooks. So why can all these people get over themselves? And yet Paul F. Tompkins is standing up for you shouldn't make jokes about, fuck. I'm telling you, white liberals are the devil.
I think elites are like, everyone's equal in the elite platform playing field, right? But everyone below that, we're all just supposed to be divided.
Mm-hmm. And black people can't really stand up for themselves. Black people aren't their own type of person. That's what white elites really believe. And they think that they're helping us. They think that they're helping. I'm only a halvesy, but like,
I don't think they think that they're helping us. I think they know exactly what they're doing.
Maybe the elites.
That's right. The elites.
Right. Because I'm like 90, but the 90%, the gas in the tank of these guys pressing on the pedal, the gas in the tank to move this car towards authoritarian hell, is well-meaning white liberals, well-meaning white liberals. It's really what it is. And it's fucking heartbreaking. You know what I mean? And so that's why I like riding the road of and talking very bombastically and very hyperbolically and making memes about these goofballs and just smacking them on the face with love, but smacking them on the face
with love. Everything with love.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of white liberals. I'm friends with a lot of white liberals. But you know, I understand myself and I've done enough healing to know myself very well. And so I know humans and I know dudes, and I know women, and trans people and gays, whatever. But you know what I'm saying?
So you know where it's coming from.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had times where I've been a bitch. I've had times where I've been overly defensive. I've had times where I've been arrogant. I've had times where I think I'm standing up for someone when really I'm being a myopic asshole. Like when you get it in yourself, when you've done the work, you can project that and help others.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's your medicine. It's the medicine that you can offer the world.
Right. So speaking of medicine you can offer the world, where can people find you, Michele?
I'm just kidding.
Wait, what were you going to say?
No, I didn't get the vaccine.
No, right. That's not medicine. That's fucking
medicine.
Actually, before we end it, I mean, you're plugged into the healing world and all that shit. How many of the people underground are actually vaccinated and pro-vaccine?
No one that's in the healing world is vaccinated, and if they are, they're usually like the spiritual bypassers. Spiritual bypassers, meaning people that pretend that they're doing the work, but they're not actually doing the work. Like if you're still like if you're riddled with traumas and triggers, like if you get triggered really easily, chances are you're someone that's a bypasser. Like if you claim that you're spiritual and like you are, you have pronouns in your bio and you're following those dumbass narratives. Sorry, it's true. Like chances are like you're still in the brainwashed camp and you haven't worked on your healing, because if you can be tricked by that, you clearly are not awake enough.
I will give a slight pass to the people who took the first one, maybe back in February or March of 2021. You get a pass, baby. Don't even worry about it.
Doing it for the greater good, right? Like, but they just were not paying attention, because us conspiracy theorists have been saying since the beginning what was going to happen, and sure enough, it's happening.
Right. And even by their own, because I really, bottom line, I take it real humanist when it comes to this stuff. I don't think it's easy for the whole world to, that's why I look askance at some of the shit of the people on my side who are like, the goddamn 5G and the fucking, there are chemicals in the air, it's chemtrails. I'm like, all right, relax. Like, okay,
well, chemtrails are a thing. Like 5G, I don't subscribe to that.
Hang on, my ear thing came out. I had surgery, everybody. So all right, elaborate real quick.
Have you ever seen those lines in the sky?
Yes.
Like you can never look at a sky and see a clear sky anymore.
Yes,
that didn't exist back then.
That didn't exist back when?
Back when we were children. I don't remember ever looking up at the sky. I remember seeing clear blue skies. You don't see clear blue skies anymore. You see little crosshatch clouds of smoke that look like clouds, but they're not clouds because they're usually following planes.
I think I do. But I mean, I didn't grow up in the 60s like you, but I think so. Okay, maybe, but here to elaborate on my point, what I'm saying is I don't think maybe it is very possible. I don't put anything past humans, whatever. Yeah. But I like getting down to the simple humanistic side of things. Number one, I don't think that many people would be good at keeping a secret. That's number one. I think we like to blab, even to our wives, who then talks to the lady who gets the nails and the like a little, just a dash of salt into that. But even if it's true, I don't necessarily go to the evil as an explanation for things. I think, yes, it is evil, but I think ultimately it's greed and fear. The simplest, even politicians, let me keep my fucking job, right? And fear of the 90% in the gas tank, well-meaning motherfuckers who I don't want to be made fun of by fucking stupid ass John Oliver. It's fear and whatever. And so like keeping it real simple is sometimes the simplest explanation is, the right one. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. And also, like, I'm on the same camp, and obviously I catch myself sometimes where, yes, we're, believing that we're all one, and like, and that we're all just operating either in love or in fear, and everyone is well intentioned. They just have different ways of going about it. Like, people that did get the vaccine, yes, they did it out of fear for the most part, but they did it to protect humanity. Whereas people that are promoting not getting the vaccine, for one, it could be out of fear from getting the vaccine, but also it's to protect humanity from the effects of the vaccine, right? So we both are trying to be well intentioned. We just don't communicate in the middle.
Right. And that's why like I may talk all kinds of shit about the vaccine and its efficacy and safety because it's neither. But my main thing has always been I'm doing that in order to get rid of the narrative so that we don't have mandates. That's all it is. If it's your choice, go for it, boo-boo. Do what you got to do. Take care. If you feel like the best thing for you, especially if you're old or whatever, if the best thing for you and your family and to protect others and, hats off to you. But if it feeds into the narrative of, okay, everybody needs to get this or they don't get to eat at a fucking restaurant like I can't, fuck you. I'm a poke holes and I'm gonna take it down. And I think we're actually winning,
Well, I see what's going on in New York now, where the mask mandates, I think they were deemed unconstitutional, but I think there's still work to do around the vaccines. But at least the Supreme Court shut it down, so that's good.
Yeah. And what's nice too, or what's sad, all the Starbucks employees across the country had to get it. And then as soon as the Supreme Court said, no, never mind that, now the people who are like, I just got it 2 months ago to keep my job, and now you're telling me I didn't have to get it?
Well, I heard that the Starbucks employees were protesting when the CEO said that he's dropping the mandates in Starbucks. Then I heard that the employees started protesting because they wanted the mandates.
Not in New York.
Well, that's good.
And you know why not in New York? Because everybody, have you noticed, you lived here for a little while, you can't work at Starbucks unless you're black. I don't understand. There's got to be something in the water. I don't know what it is. Do they have watermelon in the back? Hey, ho.
Not touching that one.
You're allowed to laugh. You're with a Puerto Rican. It's all right.
And I'm Peruvian.
Okay. So you have guinea pig in there somewhere in the back.
Yes,
in the
I
background?
do. He comes out in my poops.
Getting sexier by the minute. Okay, so as far as it goes, we'll just wrap up by saying, what's the last thing you kind of want to? What's the last message you want to put forth there?
The last message that I would like to put forth is what's worked for me to heal my family. Like, you always have to be a portrayal or a representation of your best, highest self, and just lead with love and kindness for people. And when people see that, they will, for one, they'll rise to the occasion, and they'll feel the love, the healing energy, and they'll want to know why you're not in fear state, and why you're emanating all this glow, right? I think the way to wake humanity up is just giving people love and holding space. Because, the more you antagonize them and naysay them and talk nasty, and I'm guilty of doing this in the past. Like, I was fully in the comment sections, like, yelling at people and draining my energy. But then I realized you have to lead with love. So leading with love wakes people up.
Awesome. Very cool. Where can people find you, Michele?
They can find me on my Instagram at Michele Boloña. That's Michelle with one L, last name Bolona. And I feel that's probably the best way to reach me.
Okay. And then you're also at Deeper Rooted Magic.
Deeply Rooted Magic podcast, but I've been kind of taking a little hiatus from the podcast.
Okay. All right. And you're in Nashville, but you can also maybe do healing sessions and whatever through Zoom or...
Yeah, I only take clients virtually right now.
Oh, okay.
That's by design, so that I can move to Costa Rica.
Okay, awesome. Everybody, wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you comment, make sure you rate it, blah, blah, blah. I've got music coming out soon, but again, this arm is holding me back a teensy bit because again, resting is hard work. I really got to fucking say it to like sit my ass down and not be like, I got to be making something. I have to do it. It's just like, Pete, fucking, it's hard. Taking a lot of Downton Abbey. But I will be coming out with music soon, everybody. And but suffice it to say, you can always get more CONSERVATISH on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and peterfeliciano.com. Thank you very much, Michele. I will go ahead and end the recording now.
Thank you.